It is a Friday. Hope you're having a nice day. It's coming into the afternoon hours now. Today, temperatures are cooler or milder. They've been cooling the last few days. That has been the trend. That cooling trend will continue into this weekend. It's not going to get cold, but it's not going to get hot. Temperature's probably going to end up at average, like today, or below average in many cases as we get into early next week, which is pretty nice. It's been a very, very hot summer, especially in the Inland Bay valleys, and they're getting a bit of a break. In the Sacramento Valley, even today, Sacramento, as you can see on this page here, these are the forecast highs for today. Sacramento looks like downtown stays under 100 degrees. So a little bit of that marine air is seeping into the valley, which is considered, they call that their delta breezes. Fresno is still at $105, Redding at 102, Chico at 100, and Paradise at 92. And that's, again, because of the elevation. You lose, Paradise is about 1,500 feet up there on Skyway. Up by the Skyway in Pearson is probably 1,500 feet. You lose about 3 degrees per 1,000 feet. That's an environmental lapse rate. It's an average number, but you lose about that much typically. And so, so it makes sense. About 3 degrees cooler. More than that, actually. In this case, it's 8 degrees cooler. So the forecast for us is going to be, for us being the Bay Area, is going to be the same kind of, it's going to follow suit. So these are the forecast highs for today, which you right away, you noticed it as soon as you got up. A lot of fog and low cloud far inland, deeper inversion. That pattern of the depth of the inversion, the fog bank, the thickness of the fog bank, is going to continue. In other words, it started off earlier this week narrow, under 1,000 feet, got up to 1,200 feet, 1,300 feet, 1,800 feet. That's where it'll be tonight, probably 1,800 feet tonight. And then it'll just keep stretching out as we get into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday. A low comes into the north, and that low continues this process. So the trend is for cooler weather right into the weekend. And that's going to have an impact. This cooling is going to have an impact into the Central Valley, which is going to be great for firefighting efforts. So the 5-day forecast, this is the weather up front, and we'll get into the fires after this, but this way you don't have to sit through all that. The idea is that top tier numbers representing the coast, that those numbers don't change much, right? Because the sea surface temperatures are 58 degrees, give or take a couple. And that's typically that moderates the temperature downward at the coast, right? Even Ocean Beach, Pacifica, Half Moon Bay, they run a little warmer, a little cooler, depending on how far from the water you get. The numbers that really react are these numbers. These are the numbers that you can look at for the more scale change, weather change kind of a thing. In other words, by the time you get down here to 85, in the hot spot in Livermore Valley, you've got something going on, and that's that low kicking in overhead. This is just the deeper inversion, the lessened high pressure. These 80s, you start to see that low kicking in, and that low will stretch out the inversion to the point that we'll see temperatures that will continue to be on the mild side. This is the Kosher fire. That's the forecast. So what's going to happen? Weekend looks great. It's going to be mild to cool. Outside lands, take a jacket. It's August. It's Golden Gate Park. Don't even mess with it, right? There's very few. Maybe October, you don't need a jacket. But August, you're going to need a jacket. Kosher fire. We'll take a look at it. This thing is up over 1,300 acres now, I believe. This is the loop on it. We're looking north on this fire. The Kosher fire is unfortunately not in an area with a large population, but people are being impacted by the smoke over towards Placerville and Grass Valley and south down towards Auburn and those areas. You see a couple burns going on there. I think that burn to the north might be a fired burn, which means that they're kind of backfiring into that canyon a little bit. I think there was a little bit of that going on yesterday. I haven't followed the backfiring efforts, but you see that fire, and it's over 1,300 acres or so. It did double in size, but it doubled from 600 to 1,200. So it's not this massive, but the weather it's been hot and dry, but the weather has been cooperating quite a bit for firefighters, which is, it's not been great, but it hasn't been windy. The winds will change, though, as we get into that. As that low gets closer, the winds will change. This is the Park Fire, which is well over oh my goodness, it's over 420,000 square acres or miles now. And you can see the fire in the morning. See how it settles down? And then this is about the last 6 hours. But you'll see the fire start to lift up. It breathes as the smoke starts to lift, as the inversion lifts, cool air sinks, it starts to come up. And when it breathes like that, it allows more air to come in at the surface, and these fires take off. This fire, you know, you can look at smoke. You always hear, oh, if the smoke's white, it's not bad. But that is true. When you see a darker smoke plume, you're usually getting into some fuels, whether it be, you know, structures or you know, dense fuels, more dense fuels, if you will. So that's the park fire. The park fire is a concern because of its sheer size. We can take a peek at the location. I'll back out a little bit. And the fire started way down here. Let's see, I'll do this. The fire started way down here where you can see the big flame, right? And that fire is now 428,000 acres. They got it at 34% contained, which is good. But remember, containment's not the end-all to end-all. What's happening is now you've got, this is where the hot spots are. There's a hot spot here. All this is hot, but these are actively fighting fires here. And that is moving up into this area, which is, again, remote and hasn't burned in a long time. So the concern here is going to be for this Sunday, Monday trough that comes in when the winds want to shift more southerly, and they would pick up. Humidities will drop, temperatures will drop, but the winds pick up. So, right, it's a double-edged sword. It'll be interesting to see how that times out. And here's the beauty of CAL FIRE. They know this, obviously, and they're very sophisticated, and they're planning the stuff that they're letting burn now, the backfiring they're doing. They're out in front of this. Like, you know, I'm just playing catch up, going, oh, look where they are. Look where they did a burn here. They're way ahead of it, knowing their meteorologists are, I wouldn't say second to none, but the meteorology, the fire meteorology that goes on, that's coming out of San Jose State, the stuff those kids are doing down there, it's just, there's full-on courses. Like my buddy Hole Hanley, his deal is he's a fire atmospherics meteorologist. I mean, that wasn't around when I was a kid. That's awesome. So they're just focusing on fire. You can see the smoke doesn't look too bad for these areas, right? So the fire is up in here, but you can't really see the smoke. Now it has to do with sun angle, certainly. And then here I think is no, that's not the Dozier fire. Yeah, you can't really see, but you can see fog along the coast. You can see the story with us is going to be, and the story with the fires too. Let me put this X around it. So see if you can keep your eyes in this area. See that the shape of the state, okay? And that shape of the state. Oops, didn't want to do that. Right in here. That is where we're going to keep our eye on. And what we're watching are these areas that are going to swing by. These little vorticity maximums. This is upper level winds. So you see California now. Get your eyes on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll through a little bit of, let's see, I can grab it here. And what we're going to watch is, right, you see California. See right there. See that? That's Sunday. That's the low we're watching. See that little curvature thing? I know you probably do see it, but maybe you don't. But that guy right there. Okay, that is the vorticity maximum, which just means wind shear, which in the world of weather means you're looking at dynamics, some kind of upper air dynamics that are going to change what's happening at the surface. It changes what's happening a lot, but that translates down to the surface. And in this case, it's going to create winds. It's going to inject moisture and humidity in, but it's going to change the winds. It's going to increase the winds. It's going to increase the humidity. It's going to lower the temperatures. And then look at this one guy drop right down behind it. See that? That is on Wednesday of next week right there. And that's kind of in that northeast quadrant. But I would say from Sunday through Tuesday and into Wednesday will be interesting to watch on the fire lines. And then that area keeps us kind of mild. See, it's just to the north of us. That's not as, that could be a wind producer as well. That is on next Friday. And then look at that. That's almost potentially, it's not going to happen, but that would be a rain event, truthfully, this time of year, at least in Northern California. So we'll see. So what I'm showing you is, I love the way this how alive this is too. Look at those vorticity maximums. That's I mean, talk about the planet being alive. Look at that. And that's upper level winds, the lines representing the jet stream, and then those colored areas representing the areas of dynamic shear. And it works the other way as well. It doesn't always have to be the shear that is going up and creating instability. It can also be wind shear that's creating compression and creating sinking air, which is a high pressure, which doesn't have vorticity, but it has a negative vorticity. So yeah, it does have vorticity in a way, just different. Okay, so as we look at the purple air, because we can look at the air quality. And the air quality really in the Bay Area is not super grand right now. There is an air advisory today from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And you can see why. I mean, some of these areas out in the East Bay, sometimes when I see anomalous stuff like this 122, I'm not sure what's going on there. Sometimes I think it's sensors. Usually I want to see a grouping of sensors like an Alamo. That air does not look really, really great. You can see up by, I always wonder, I don't know if these guys pick up refinery stuff. I'm sure it does. Of course it does. But I don't know if it picks up everyday occurrences with the refineries. But purple air, if you're subject to air concerns, you would want, I'm sure you already have this site. So this is Chico, and this is up by that fire zone. And these drainages in the mornings, that smoke is draining down and getting into Red Bluff and getting into Chico. I mean, Chico's air quality today, not good at all for them. They've had a pretty good run. Even Magalia and Paradise air quality, not that good. At the beach, the air quality is good. This is San Francisco's Ocean Beach. Plenty of cloud cover out there. The marine layer is pretty deep. The winds are south-southwest around 10. Tide is going up to a full 5-foot tide. And we've got a deep marine layer. You can see it out there. You also see the container ships lining up offshore. Sometimes when they do that, I always want that to be cool to be like a bar pilot, and do what they do, because they bring them in. They bring them in typically on the incoming tide, which is happening now. And I imagine that's why they're stacking up out there a little bit. And what I mean by that is, right, here's a container ship here. He waits out here for this guy to get through. And then I don't know how far they space, but they like to come in on the high tides, right? Sometimes they go out on the high tide if they're carrying a lot with them. But usually they're laden when they come in, when they get to the Port of Oakland, and then they jump off and they come out with less draft, I guess, or less water, with less heavy. All right, this is a favorite of mine. This is Halama Beach Park, and this is the tip of Point Conception. It's a wonderful place to camp if you ever have. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's the tip of Point Conception. It's about as far as you can get. Awesome whale watching. Surfing can be good. This is a good day. You see they got a lot of fog there, and you can see the fog just offshore. Halama State Beach. Just a tip, I would go in the winter. I mean, the surf's pretty good there, actually. It's really good. Not right now, but it's really good in the winter and the fall. All right, so I think we covered a bunch. Thanks for hanging in. I will see you back here. Tomorrow's Saturday. Probably won't do anything Saturday or Sunday. I might do something Sunday. Okay, have a nice day.